Let us be the last to wish you a happy new year and welcome back to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and we've got a full house on the podcast today, the first podcast of 2022. But joining me today, we've got Shane Joseph up in New York. Shane, how are you?
I'm doing good, Andrew. Thank you.
And Nick Weisenberger in Ohio. Nick, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
And over on the West Coast, who has decided to grace us with his presence today, Eric Woolley. Eric, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I am doing well, thank you. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. I'm excited to finally get, it's been a little bit of a break since our last episode with Josh Liebman talking Hard Rock Park. So if you're listening to this show for the first time today, be sure to go back into the archives. The conversation with Josh was really good. As one member of the panel told me before we started recording, they don't listen to the show. So we need more people to listen to the show, including those who write and work for the site. But it's all good. I do want to start, we're a little bit delayed in talking about this, but it's a piece of information that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And Nick, I know as a father of two children, and Shane as somebody who goes to Disney, a fair amount and has used this service. See, I didn't even take the low hanging as a child yourself.
Yeah, but I'm proud. I was expecting that.
I think we were all expecting that. So
yeah, it's all good. But I want to talk, just kind of kick this off. We want to discuss Disney's Magical Express going away. And for those listening who didn't know what Magic Express was, it was included for those who were staying on Disney property, flying into the Orlando International Airport. A charter bus would pick you up. They would take your luggage. They would deliver your luggage to your hotel room. And you would get that same service on the back end where you would get your luggage, go to the front of the hotel. You would load up on a bus and they would take you. And this service was included, complimentary, or I guess technically part of your Disney vacation package by staying in an on-site resort. But as of January 1, this service is no more. There's a number of things going on at Disney right now that could be described as cost-cutting measures. I know it was operated by a third-party service. Nick, again, as the resident dad of this panel here, what was your experience with Magical Express, and will you miss it?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss it. So the key word is convenience. So especially when you have kids, especially when you had really young kids, it just made it so convenient and easy to get to Disney. Because you don't have to sit there and think about, like, do we bring our own car seat? Do we try to rent a car seat from someone else? Like, you don't have to worry about that. You just go there. When you land, you don't have to wait for your luggage or anything. You just get directly on the bus. Your luggage would magically show up in your hotel room. Like, there was just so many pain points that just went away, and things that you didn't have to think about. You could just concentrate on your kids and just start having fun right away. So it was just super convenient and easy. And yeah, it's definitely going to be missed. And the thing is, it kept you in the Disney bubble too. Like, all the past times that we visited here from Ohio, like, we used the Magical Express, and then we never went off Disney property because of it.
Again, if you're kind of confused as to what we're talking about, this whole area in the rental car baggage claim area at the Orlando International Airport, it was devoted to Magical Express. The signs were everywhere. You would go to this kind of corner of this area. They would line you up by different properties of the hotels. You would wait somewhere between 5 and 20 minutes, really. And you would get on the bus. They'd drop you. It was a door-to-door service. It was so nice. There was Disney trivia playing in the airport terminal. There was Disney trivia on the bus, and kind of behind the scenes videos, those kind of Travel Channel mini documentaries on the bus itself. Shane, did you also mentioned you got to use it a couple of times, right?
Yeah, I used it twice last year. I used it in June and November when I went for APA. It's, again, like Nick said, it's just a convenience that I kind of can't imagine not being there. Because now it's either you have to get an Uber, which especially from an airport in a city is not cheap. And, the luggage was also a big part of it. If you have a lot of stuff, especially if you have a big family, or if you're bringing a lot of stuff back, that's just something that there's not really a good option for anymore. And there are replacements. I think Disney announced there's like a themed one now. They have this new bus that's like a steampunk theme or something. Either way, it's an additional cost, which that's the other thing. If they were going to take this service away, which they did, I would have rather they had a replacement for it or lowered the price of the hotel stay. Neither of which really happened, which I think is kind of disappointing for me as someone who really liked this service.
Yeah.
And if you rent a car, you have to now pay for parking at the hotel as well.
That's
so
another
that's not
thing.
like a cheaper option either.
No.
Right. And so the replacement here is a company called Mears, and they were actually the subcontractor for Disney for the Magical Express bunch, but they've got their own service now called Mears Connect. They've got a standard service, which is per adult is $16, per child is $13.50, and children, you're an adult when you become 10 every time you land in Orlando. I don't know if that's actually how that works, but so yeah, $16 each way. So you're looking for a family of 4, you're looking right at about $110 for 2 adults and 2 kids. Like Shane mentioned, there's Uber, or you can rent a car. But if you're staying on Disney property, the value properties, you're paying $15 all the way up to the premium hotel, Grand Floridian, and all those nice hotels. You're paying like $25 a day to park. So it's an added on expense. And, before we started talking about this, Eric, you mentioned something that I had never really thought about, but neither of the domestic Disney parks are connected to the airport by rail, but a lot of the foreign Disney parks are, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was so like I was in France this past fall, and we took one day and went to Disneyland Paris, and like it was really convenient. Like it's on one of their normal regional train lines that goes out of the big train stations throughout Paris. It takes less than an hour and basically drops you off across the way. Tokyo Disney is the same way, and I don't know for sure, but like pretty sure Shanghai would also have like their massive rail network connected. And I think it's one of those things that like Orlando's already a bit of a pain because it's like it's in a swamp. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's not like it's also not an enormous airport. It's not like there's tons of people going. Like there are lots of flights to Orlando because of Disney. But I think like to what Nick was saying, that it's now like if you basically have to rent a car, it suddenly becomes much more tempting to like, I don't know, maybe I'll stay at Universal instead and then drive to Disney for 2 days. Especially if you also have to pay for parking at the hotels, which is like, well, I could pay for parking at the resort instead for a day.
Exactly.
I think
I've been fortunate enough to take our kids like from Ohio to Florida 4 times, and we went to Disney all those 4 times. Well, this coming February, we're going to Florida. We're going to Universal this time, and we're staying at Universal. And that's just one of the small reasons why.
Yeah.
On top of all the other things I'm not a fan of going on at Disney.
The like one time I think I've used Magic Express, it was also like a use case that I had was really convenient was I was meeting people who had gotten to Florida a day or 2 before me. And so like they had rented a car because we were doing a split Disney and Universal trip. But then it was like, okay, I can get to the hotel easily by myself without having to rent a second car or make them drive however far the airport is from Disney World and pick me up. And it's like, okay, well, that's now off the table and makes it more complicated if you're trying to meet a group that's coming from different places. So yeah, I don't know. Temptation, it further increasing the value proposition of a Universal resort stay instead of Disney.
And I do want to just real quick, if you are renting a car at Orlando International Airport, this happened to me a couple years ago when I went down for IAPA, wasn't staying at Disney at all, so rented a car. Just off the airport property, there is a toll booth that is, last I checked, cash only. And it was just like, why isn't this advertised to literally anybody? I know they have the Orlando Toll Pass, which is we can link to in the show notes. It's kind of like a temporary easy pass. But yeah, if you rent a car, nobody tells you there is this toll booth off of like before you get on I-4 or whatever the road is from the airport. It's just like, thanks. Welcome to Orlando. We're going to charge you a nickel and dime for everything. And it seems like we're going that way as well. I would love to talk about my last experience on Magical Express.
Because I was going to say that the Magical Express was good, but it wasn't perfect. Like they would, when you're going from the airport to Disney World, they would go to several different hotels. So if you were the last one, you had to sit on the bus longer and wait for everybody else to go to all their resorts first. So it wasn't perfect. And yeah, I think Andrew, you had a little experience.
When you say not perfect, I think this is a good way to put it. I had a 5 a.m. flight out of Orlando International Airport, which can't recommend. For the sake of a cheap flight, it was great. It was, I think $49 round trip, and this was 2020, right before COVID shut everything down. So I don't know if you can still find those flights. I'm sure they exist. But for a 5 a.m. flight, they want you at the airport 2 hours early, and for traffic purposes, because everybody is on the road at 2:00 in the morning, they pick you up an hour before that 2 hours. So you're looking at 3 hours. So after a full day at the park, I got like an hour and a half's worth of sleep, loaded my stuff. My brother and I were the only two people on the Magic Express bus from Pop Century to Orlando International Airport. And I will say that the bus was involved in an accident. I can't believe it. It was really, really kind of jarring to me. I will say for that reason, I don't mind renting a car at Orlando anymore, or taking an Uber or other rideshare service. This is not sponsored content for Uber. But yeah, the convenience was there. Like Nick said, not perfect.
Did you make your flight on time?
Oh yeah, we made the flight. It was good, and everybody was okay. That I guess good. I have to talk about. That is important. The bus was in an accident. It turned a compact car into a subcompact car, but we were everybody was okay. That's the important thing, and that's all that I'm gonna say about that on that matter. But we're gonna transition a little bit here into something else that is, I think, imperfect at Disney World. If you've been following social media at all the past weekend, you will know that at Epcot, their Festival of the Arts began late last weekend, and the internet was set ablaze by these Figment popcorn buckets. And Friday, when the buckets came out, there were stories of people waiting 5, 6, 7 hours for a popcorn bucket. These popcorn buckets, as with any kind of signature Disney merchandise item, they quickly found their way to eBay. And as of this recording, which we're recording Saturday afternoon, there have been 246 results for Figment Popcorn Bucket that have sold on eBay. The most expensive bucket I saw went for $1,075. Plus $10.70 shipping, which is a relative bargain when you really think about it. That's 43 times the retail cost of the $25 popcorn bucket. So I want you guys, feel free to chime in here. Is any park souvenir worth over $1,000?
Okay, first of all, no. Second, no. I would love to be the person that listed, like, you couldn't throw in the free shipping with that. Why? Like, really, for $1,000? But yeah, no, nothing is worth $1,000. Definitely not a popcorn bucket that's going to be sitting and collecting dust the second that it gets opened out of the eBay package. And not only that, but that's also a cost. Your time is money when you're at these resorts. So if you're spending 7 hours, which is a majority of the day that the park is open, waiting in line for a souvenir that my guess is you're not really going to use, that's also a waste of a day. So my suggestion is, if you have $1,000 lying around, just go to Disney.
Yeah, well,
that's my recommendation.
I was looking at when Andrew first showed the prices, and it was like, all right, they're going for a few $100. Like, even for me to fly from the West Coast to Florida for 4 days, and be like, okay, well, if I can sell $1,000 of this, that can pay for a Disney World trip. Maybe I should go and just buy 2 popcorn buckets. Can one of you guys explain a little I've got some questions about these popcorn buckets. First, are these like super limited edition? Like, did Disney say that they're only going to be available for 3 days or something? My second question is, I thought everyone hated new Figment. Is this old Figment or new Figment?
I think that the questions go hand in hand. I think that everyone hates something until you put the word limited, and then everyone goes nuts for it. I bet if they had whatever that new tiki room they did, I bet if they made merchandise with that, you'd be seeing the same prices. So yeah, they're definitely limited. I don't know if it's just for this weekend or if it's like the whole festival. I would actually love that.
Festival.
If like a month from now, there's no wait for these,
is
which
that
is
like, in 2 weeks, can you just get one and walk up and buy a popcorn bucket?
I think so. So that's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye out. And also, I noticed in this link that Andrew sent, one of the other recommended items is a Figment Spork that is going for $30 plus $10 shipping as well. So I guess if you want to go all in on cheap plastic Figment stuff, now's the time. Go to eBay.
I think, Eric, to answer your question about new Figment, I don't think anybody hates new Figment more than Eric Idle. And
yeah, that's true.
If you remember,
I'm not sure. I assume Eric Idle doesn't know what Figment is.
No, there was a Twitter exchange last year where he was talking about, working with dragons, and I'm going to bleep this in the edit, but he called Figment an animated little and it's, I think there's a lot of nostalgia for the original Journey into Imagination and the original Figment character and the Dream Finder and all this stuff. And I just think that it's a lot of people who kind of reminisce about what Epcot used to be, which was, more edutainment and less Guardians of the Galaxy because Star-Lord went to Disney World when he was a kid or whatever that story is. I don't know. But I think I looked up the one-day ticket to Epcot yesterday was $109. And a popcorn bucket retails, again, $25. Presumably there's some sort of tax in there. So you're looking at about $135, $140. Let's use round numbers here. Is your time, even if you were to get one of these things, one popcorn bucket, flip it for the average selling price I'm seeing on eBay right now, there was a good number of them that sold for right around $200. So is your time and money worth the $60 that you're going to get to like stand in the presumably warm Florida sun? I know it's January, so it's not super hot in Florida, but is this a statement of how little to do there is in Epcot right now where people would just wait? Again, 5, 6. Shane, you said you saw somebody waited 7 hours for a popcorn bucket. Like, does anybody use a popcorn bucket outside of a theme park?
No way.
I assume that the people waiting in line to buy them now are locals.
Yeah, it
or
has
like pass holders who go regularly enough. Although I don't know why they went on a Friday or Saturday to. I mean, it still doesn't make sense. I wouldn't take a day off work to go wait in line to buy a popcorn bucket. But I hope that this is not somebody taking their 4-day Florida vacation and spending one of those days waiting in line to buy a popcorn bucket.
No. Yeah. And these are also I don't know if you guys saw these pictures too of I'm assuming again, pass holders, Florida locals, walking away with 8 of these popcorn buckets with the sole purpose of selling them, even though you're not allowed to do that.
Wasn't there a limit of 2 per person or something like that?
Allegedly. Yeah, so I don't know. So what I read is
$50 and make them also buy it.
What I was reading on Twitter is that's the trick. Is if you go with 4 people, you give everybody money, stand in line together, and then everybody buys 2 buckets. Just don't do that. It's not worth it. Nobody cares. Just don't.
Oh my gosh. I do remember when these things were announced on January 6th that they were going to exist. They were announced on the Disney Parks TikTok. And I remember talking with Clint from Thrill Geek, just talking about, if you know how these things work, if you can't be in the park that day, it'll be available on eBay. And what I tweeted Clint. I said, one little spark of price inflation charged by people not on vacation. So, if you're familiar with the one little spark jingle from Journey into Imagination, and then whatever the current version of that ride is the theme song is One Little Spark. So that was a little fun. I can't think of anything that's worth waiting 5 or 6 hours to buy something. There's even an iPhone, whatever, everybody's got to be the first person who has it. And I guess, if you got to be the first person on eBay with the Figment Popcorn Bucket, it was probably worth your time. But, Nick, I know, again, I keep harping on the fact that you're a dad, but is there anything that you would wait in line 5-6 hours for to buy your kids?
No.
Good answer.
They can wait. But I'm like the worst person to ask, though, because I'm like the anti-collector. Like, even theme park stuff, the only thing I collect is like the paper park maps that they give out for free. So this makes no sense at all to me why you would stand in line for a bucket.
Is there, or do any of you have, I'm not sure if any of us are huge collectors, but is there merch that you have waited in a long line or paid a lot of money for, either in a park or site? I mean, I don't know that I would pay $25 for the Figment bucket there, partly because I have no nostalgia for it, but also $25 seems like a lot for a souvenir popcorn bucket.
Is.
Yeah.
Eric, I know you've got the potato head popcorn bucket that you got where? Shanghai?
Tokyo Disney Sea. And that was I got it at the end of the day-ish. So Tokyo Disney, if you don't know, they've full of popcorn stands that all have both different flavors of popcorn, huge variety at different stands, and all have different types of popcorn buckets. I think popcorn buckets are big at all of the both Tokyo Disney parks. And I looked around a bunch that weren't interesting to me, and then the Mr. Potato Head one I thought was funny and cute. And I'm guessing, I don't remember exactly, but I don't know, it probably cost $10 to $20. It was more expensive than just getting a popcorn, but not over $20. And you said you don't know if anyone else uses it. It now lives on my mantle. But when I realized that I had to take it home with me, I did manage to fit it in my suitcase by cleaning it out and then stuffing all of my socks in it to make room in the suitcase for it. So that is a second use case for the popcorn bucket, is to carry socks. But that was, it was my attitude towards souvenir shopping at any theme park, certainly Disney and Universal parks. It's I'll buy a few things. But at all of those parks, all the shops on Main Street at Disneyland stay open after the park has closed. I would never wait in line while I could go ride rides. I'll poke my head in, get a souvenir at the end of the day. I think last time I was at Universal Studios, I was disappointed to not be able to find any Back to the Future merch, but spent 20 minutes looking in different shops for it. But do that when you can't ride a ride. Of course, I also wouldn't wait 5 hours for almost any ride. So but it feels like there's such a better way to spend your day if you're at a theme park.
Yeah, I can't say I would wait to wait in a park to buy anything, and I hate waiting. I will purposefully, if I'm at Carowinds, for example, which is my home park, if there's a long line for Fury, I play the season pass card. I'm I can come back. It's not going anywhere.
Yep.
As far as unique merch that I would spend that kind of coin on, I don't, there's not one piece of Disney Universal regional park merch that I would spend that level of money on. After our Hard Rock Park podcast episode, I did go on eBay and I found 2 collectible beer steins from the Queen's Head pub at Hard Rock Park, just because I was I talk a lot about this park and I really, really enjoy it and really miss it, but I don't have any cool merch from it. So once I was able to sift through all the Hard Rock Cafe pins and find this, still with the tags on, had never been used beer steins. They were cool. They look cool on a shelf, much like Eric's popcorn bucket. But I'm not spending any level of a lot of money on a theme park souvenir. I've got some cool stuff, but again, it's a piece of wood from Thunder Road that was $15 that, they had a limited edition, but they still sell them in the park, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. The only I guess the two most expensive things I have are my droid and my lightsaber from I didn't even build my own lightsaber because I just got mine at Disney Springs. But the only thing that I would even think about paying anywhere close to that amount is for something that was like actually in a ride, like parks that'll sell like, if they sell a prop from Haunted Mansion or something, or a piece of track, like that's the only thing that I could ever even think about spending. Definitely not, like these hats or t-shirts or pins. Like that's just not worth it to me, because so much of the cost of the vacation is for like the experiences themselves. So I don't usually feel the need to buy that much on top of that, and definitely not worth waiting any amount of time for either.
On that subject, did you guys see that Blackpool Pleasure Beach was I guess they're retracking the big one, and they have like ride steps, and they've got a piece of like actual pieces of track that are like for sale in this on their website online. Like you can go, and we'll link this in the show notes, that's like pieces of big one track, or the long steps on the side of the track on the lift hill, or a track platform in the brake run. It's like you can get the long steps of the big one for €280. It's like,
wow. How much are they charging for the track?
Because there's like little cut up sections you can buy, but also like a full sized piece of track, right?
It is a full size piece of track. They don't have a price listed on the website.
Okay.
It says
Serious
standby.
inquiries only.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It says offers are open and the track is available for viewing. Please contact their website for specific quoting along with length of track. Track can be cut to size if feasible. So like this is like going to Lowe's and it's like, I need a shelf that's 6 feet long. Blackpool Pleasure Beach is going to be like, special assistance needed in cutting the roller coaster track. And it's like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Depending on how much room you have in your house for a roller coaster track, they'll make it work for you.
If you want to build a shelf for a bed out of it, you can
yeah.
custom size. Shane, I'm curious. So, like, you did the droid stuff at Galaxy's Edge, and I know there's like, I have been a little tempted by that as well, and like custom lightsaber. Although I think in both those cases, half of it is like the experience of
definitely
doing the thing. So I'm curious, like, do you think that you would have paid for that if it was either cost twice as much as it did, or if it was like, if it wasn't a build it yourself custom, like if you didn't get to like do the thing that was involved with it?
So for the droid, probably not. I mean, I have the article that I just put out on the website about it, and I kind of say like, a big part of this is the experience. It's not like I'm taking the droid out and using it every day. Like it's just a cool thing to kind of commemorate the experience of going to Galaxy's Edge for the first time. It's something that, I actually was able to put together. Like I wouldn't spend that if, like, even if it was the exact droid that I built, if it was just on the shelf, it's not worth it because part of that is the experience. The lightsaber, though, I didn't build. It was one of the replica ones, so that's a little bit different. I would say that's pretty fair, even though, like, since I bought it, the prices have been going up like every couple months, which is kind of crazy. So I'm glad I got it when I did. But especially the custom lightsaber thing, I will do that eventually. But a huge part of that is the experience. So I don't think that it would be worth the price they charge for that. Just something off the shelf. No.
And if you had to wait in line 4 hours for it.
No, definitely not. That was the other thing. There was a line for building a droid if I didn't have a reservation, but like you did, I went at the end of the day, 0 wait. I walked right up. It was great. So no, definitely wouldn't wait for anything like that.
And we're going to Universal next month, like I said. So we definitely are planning on buying the interactive wands.
Oh, again, that's another good one.
Because of the experience, like you were talking about with the Star Wars, like doing the interactive stuff while you're in the park there. But then it also like doubles as a souvenir that you can have to remind you of that.
So it's completely different than a plastic popcorn bucket with a lanyard on it the only experience involved is waiting in line for 3 to 5 hours and have people meme you to death on TikTok.
Exactly. That's the thing. Cause like when you get a droid or a lightsaber or a wand, part of that price is remembering like, oh, I went in there and I did this. Whereas with the popcorn bucket, I can only imagine every time they look at it, they just see sweat and regret. Like that's not what I want as a part of the experience.
My day at Epcot where I stood in line for 6
I got
hours.
sunburned and just no thanks.
And you know what? I will say everybody has their thing. There is this not weird, but there is this unique cult of Figment fans who long for the days of the Dreamfinder and the Rainbow Tunnel and ImageWorks and Captain EO right next door to Figment. So that person exists, and to have this bit of Figment, nostalgia on a bookshelf or a mantle or wherever they put it, it's probably worth it to some people. And I know some people or other people right now can't travel or don't want to travel because of COVID. It makes sense. I will say, kind of like Shane said, if you have $1,000, I will link my Venmo in the show notes. Just feel free. I will send you movie theater popcorn from Orville Redenbacher, and I'll draw a picture of Figment. But on the subject of Figment art, I do want to say there was a eBay.
Oh, I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Yes, there was an eBay auction late Friday night, and it was the auction title was "Bad Artwork Sketch of the 2022 Epcot Festival of the Arts Figment Popcorn Bucket." That was the most expensive Figment sold, and this is it is a crudely drawn ballpoint pen, but 90% of the sales, so $9,000, went to Habitat for Humanity of Orlando, which that's a really good cause. I'm glad that happened, but the seller still got $1,000 for the drawing. So this is what a time. What a time to be a theme park fan. I mean, if you go on, there's the copycat, other people selling drawings of Figment. So yeah, check that out, ebay.com, search Figment Popcorn Bucket. There's some fun stuff in there. And again, the Figment Spork, things like that.
If that's not called One Little Spork, somebody messed up big time.
Bingo. So to wrap up the show this week on the subject, kind of waiting in line, as this is our first show of 2022, we're going to talk about some, not all, of the new for 2022 roller coasters that we're most excited about. And I know I personally, living in the Southeast / Mid-Atlantic region of North Carolina, right now there are 3 coasters I'm really, really excited about. And that's because I'm planning on getting a trip to all 3 of them. But Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, obviously, it was supposed to be a new for 2020 attraction, as was Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando, which is another coaster I'm going to talk about. But Pantheon, right before the pandemic started, I remember going up to Williamsburg. It was about 2 years ago, like this week, I feel like. And I got to take a construction tour, and there was like 2 pieces of track that were left to put on. And we were blissfully unaware of kind of how the world would turn in the subsequent 2 years. And I'm so excited to finally get back up to Busch Gardens Williamsburg and ride that. The POV I've seen looks amazing. That Beyond Vertical top hat looks really cool. The inversions are unique. I haven't been back to Busch Gardens Williamsburg since Finnegan's Flyer opened. And that was a long time ago when you think about it. And so I'm really excited to ride that. Really excited to get down to Orlando and ride Icebreaker, another new for 2020 coaster that's going to be opening. They announced a February 21st date, something like that. 18th maybe, right before that President's Day holiday. So that's another one. And then I'm excited for Tumbili at King's Dominion in Richmond. I think it's at SNS 4D free spin, which say what you want about them, but King's Dominion is a park that I really love. And I think it's going to add a whole lot to this new Jungle Expedition area with a new restaurant. And eventually, I think they're going to replace Volcano. I hope. I'm crossing my fingers. But once that whole Jungle Expedition area kind of comes full circle and kind of comes to fruition, I think that's going to be a really, really unique theme park area. But what are some of the other coasters you guys are excited for that are opening this year?
So I guess I'll go first. Near me, I guess the closest one would be at Adventureland in Long Island, and they are opening Fireball, which is, it looks like a 4D free spin a little bit, but it's not. It's one of the, I honestly don't even know what it's called.
I got you.
It's called the Rollerball model, apparently. I just looked on RCDB, and it looks pretty cool. It's, it's nothing crazy or intense like a lot of the other editions, but it just kind of looks wacky, and it's a new kind of experience that I'm excited to get out there and try out. It's also a family coaster, so it's not extreme, so it's one of these new rides that everybody in your party is probably going to be able to ride. So that's at least one of the most realistic ones that I'm going to get on for next year. For this year, I guess. Wow.
That's a first of its kind in the United States too.
Yes.
Nick, what about you?
So sadly, there's nothing really close by me being here in Ohio. So Cedar Point, Kings Island, Kennywood, they aren't getting any new coasters. So it's kind of looking a little farther. What's one that I might have to travel to go ride? And I love airtime. That's my favorite thing about riding a coaster. So I'm looking at ones, and the one that looks like it's going to have the most amount of airtime is the Air Force One, opening at Fun Spot America Atlanta, which is in Fayetteville, Georgia, which is like on the southwest side of Atlanta. And if you've been listening to the Coaster101 podcast, you'll know that John and Kyle and Mike and I made our first visit to Fun Spot Atlanta. So I think this coaster also gets the award for like the most surprising coaster announcement of the past year, because this is a park I would never expected like a ride of this caliber to be built, because it's just a very small FEC kind of in the middle of nowhere, even though it's close to a giant city. But yeah, this ride looks really cool. It's going to be 155 feet tall, and it has a 83-degree angle first drop, 3,400 feet length. This is an RMZ Rocky Mountain construction coaster, a ground-up coaster. It's going to have 4 inversions and a giant zero-G stall, a huge outside banked turn. Fans of Lightning Rod might like this because it's also going to have a quad down finale. So it just looks like it's full of airtime and lots of crazy maneuvers, just like a lot of the RMC coasters that we love. And this is the largest single investment in the history of any Fun Spot park, but it still only cost $13 million, which seems like a real steal to me, pun intended. I would have expected to ride like if this caliber to been like 18 or $20 million. So 13 seems like a steal for a ride that's just this big and this looks this action packed. So I'm excited for that. And then I know we were throwing around some ideas for our yearly Coaster101 meetup trip, and one of the places we were throwing around was the new Lost Island theme park opening in Waterloo, Iowa.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. They've got the Shane, you saw the
animatronic
for the Sally Dark ride there. That looks amazing.
That looks great, especially like seeing that up close at IAPA. Like, this wasn't really something that was on my radar, certainly not this park prior to this, but now I'm pretty excited about it. It looks really exciting, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on for next year.
And Eric, what about you over on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, I think who knows what parks elsewhere in the country I'll get to this year, but I think definitely at the top of my list is the new RMC Raptor being built at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Wonder Woman Flight of Courage is the full name, to further confuse by having different kinds of Wonder Woman at every different Six Flags park. But I mean, I like... So I have Railblazer at my local Northern California park, California's Great America, and I've loved it since it opened, but it's the first 2 Raptors are small and compact and relatively short. And it's still a great ride, but like that's obviously different. And then I know we probably talked about it last year when Jersey Devil was supposed to open, or I guess, whenever it was supposed to open. 2 years ago? I don't remember when it was originally supposed to open. And then, like, that looked really exciting to me. Is like, oh, okay, now they are, they made sort of the 2 copycat models of the Raptor, and now are pushing it further. And then this is the next version of that. I think it's a little bit longer than Jersey Devil is, which I have. None of you have been on Jersey Devil, right?
I
Shane
have.
has.
But you have, Shane. So I don't know, like if you're what your reaction to that was, because you haven't been on Railblazer or Wonder
No,
Woman
I haven't.
Texas, right?
But it made me want to
Yeah.
very much. It's different than I thought it would be. I think I was picturing that it would be similar to the cloned versions. So I was a little let down at first, but then once I kind of realized what the ride was trying to do, I kind of came to terms with it. In the backseat, it's definitely like a lot of ejector, exactly what I pictured. So I'm curious if the one in California is going to have a similar ride experience to Jersey Devil, even though it's a clone. Maybe they've updated things or different. The weather out there is obviously different, so it could run different there. So I'm excited to see those comparisons.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. And a new coaster, Magic Mountain, again, as they continue to build more coasters after West Coast Racers a couple years ago. I'm also excited that Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego is finally going to open. That was one I was excited when it was first announced. I love dive coasters, and we don't have a B&M dive coaster in this country. I also haven't been to SeaWorld San Diego in years, partly because it's like if I'm going to Southern California, I will more likely go to one of the big theme parks in Orange County or Los Angeles instead of hanging down to San Diego. And now it's like, I was anticipating that as this is going to get me to go back to SeaWorld. And so I'm very excited when for it to actually get around and open. So those two, those are the two most likely for me to go ride, which is part of why I'm anticipating those. In terms of things elsewhere in the country opening, I am, between Tron and Guardians and Velocicoaster opening last year. Again, the years all blend together. Whenever it opened, it's and Hagrid's actually 2 years before that. I'm there's so much new stuff in Orlando that maybe it's time now to make another Orlando trip and try and check all of those off. It's exciting how many coasters are opening, I guess, especially now that we have kind of 2 years worth of coasters opening this year.
And if you go a little bit down south on I-4, you have probably the most anticipated roller coaster 2022 opening at Peppa Pig theme park, Daddy Pig's roller coaster, which is the Zamperla lift and launch, which I personally, I do want to get down there and ride it. Again, not the target demographic for Peppa Pig theme park. I've never actually seen any Peppa Pig, but hopefully I can get down there at some point. And then obviously Iron Gwazi, I thought, I'm pretty sure that's where everybody else thought I was going with that sentence. But Adam Sandy today said we were one of his favorite podcasts. So shout out to Zamperla and the roller coaster they're building at Peppa Pig theme park.
If there's a media day for the Peppa Pig coaster, I think we should be in attendance.
I know that Coaster101 founder John Stevenson, I think, actually does have this as one of his most anticipated. He's certainly very excited about it, and I think maybe is the target demographic for Peppa Pig Land. So,
no, that's Shane.
That's there it is.
I had to do it, but also
that was too easy, Andrew. That's why I was going with John instead. I know John watches Peppa Pig.
You lobbed it up. I had to slam it home, so I appreciate that. A couple other coasters out there that are going to be new this year: Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, Six Flags Fiesta Texas. And a lot of people are excited about that. Again, Eric, you mentioned you love dive coasters in this B&M. Missed opportunity to have it dive off the cliff. But I think it's going to be a pretty outstanding ride down there in San Antonio. And then
the two Gerslauers.
Yes, thank you. At Palindrome at Codaland, again, the greatest coaster name in existence. That's going to be a really exciting one, as well as Defiance at Glenwood Caverns. I do really want to get out to Glenwood Caverns and see this thing hang off a mountain. And it's a shorter ride, and I know we talked to Nancy Hurd, the general manager. To hear her so jazzed up about it was so refreshing and exciting. So I do need to get out. I do want to go to Circuit of the Americas, to the new Codaland, as well as Glenwood Caverns. So again, 2022, big year for roller coasters, big year for popcorn buckets. It's not a big year for bus transportation from the Orlando airport. So, but stay tuned. We're going to have interviews with some of the people behind these roller coasters and parks, and just we'll keep giving you the great Coaster 101 top-notch content that you've come to love and expect from this podcast. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Be sure to check us out on our website, coaster101.com. As Shane mentioned, he's got a really good in-depth article about the Droid Depot. It's part of his 4-part Star Wars Galaxy's Edge series. A lot of good other articles on the website as well to kick off the year. Make sure you're following us on social media. We are at Coaster101 anywhere you can consume the platform. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. Search Coaster101, you will find it. And apparently we still have a lot of traffic that comes to us from Pinterest. I don't know why. Again, talking target demographics, we are not the target Pinterest demographic, but the numbers don't lie. Thanks, as always, to Justin Mabry for our theme music, and we will talk to y'all again soon. See ya.